Hey YouTube, it's a sunny morning in Colorado and I'm going to do another video on tethering for Linux, Unix-based systems. So that's all Linux varieties and Mac OS. I did this video a while ago and shared my tethering script. My tethering script has changed a bunch since then, so I'll go through that again. But I will also go through at a very, very simple level how this stuff works. So if you have any kind of tech, if you have any kind of command line knowledge, there's absolutely no reason why you can't write your own tethering script. And I'm going to show you exactly how. Like 3 lines, 2 lines, no lines, you can have a tethering script. No lines of code, you can be tethering down a cable from your camera to a laptop or a desktop. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Then I'll go through my script. I've learned a lot about tethering and gPhoto2, the library that I'm working with, because I built a wireless tethering block using a Raspberry Pi, which kind of works and kind of doesn't. It completely works, but the Wi-Fi speed is too slow to make it really usable. And the way gPhoto2 works, I can't really tell. I can't connect to the camera and say, hey, give me JPEGs. And then when there's downtime, give me the RAWs of those JPEGs if I shoot RAW plus JPEG. So I'm kind of rambling. That's another video. But if I solve that problem completely, I'll do a video on that. I'm going to try out wireless AC if that works. And I might even try power over Ethernet up to the Raspberry Pi so that I'm tethering using an Ethernet cable rather than a USB cable. The biggest reason for that is if I trip over it, I'm going to break a Raspberry Pi, not my camera. So here we go. First thing you need to do is you need to use the Google and work out how to install gPhoto2. If I can spell, so that you get to a point where you can do that. gPhoto2 is installed and working. You then want to be able to connect your camera so that it either shows up like this, or if you do an LS USB, you can see your camera here. Now my camera is not mounted because I don't auto mount my camera, or I just run a script that unmounts it. But if this says unmount, you're gonna have to unmount your camera for photolib2 to work. You know what? Let's unmount it and remount it so that you see what I mean. gPhoto2 has to be able to grab this, so I'm going to unmount it. Now you can do that with a script, which I do, you'll see later. But basically now, if you go gPhoto, why can't I spell photo? I'm a photographer. Auto detect. It finds the Nikon. So as long as there's only one camera connected, you don't have to mess with anything else. You don't care which USB port it's on. You don't care. So at its very simplest, if we look at gPhoto2 again, you'll see in here somewhere, which I don't know if I can be asked finding it because I'm old or dyslexic or something in there. One of the options is gPhoto2 capture. There's 2 modes for gPhoto2. You can capture and tell the computer to capture an image, or you can capture tethered. So I'm in this tether test directory, and I'm also have that open in Nautilus here. So if I do that, we are now tethered, which is ridiculous. Nikon, Canon, Fuji's are all very straightforward. I think Sony, you might have to jump through an additional hoop. But if you get to this point with your camera, you are good to go. If you don't get to this point with a Sony, then check out Shane Milton Photography on YouTube, because he goes into that for Sony's, I believe, in his tethering script. So now if I take a photo, we have the file, the NEF file, stored in the location that I launched gPhoto2. Like, holy crap, we are tethered. Um, we're not seeing the tethered image, so we want to take care of that. But we are tethered, and there's no lag. I can take a bunch of photos, and gPhoto2 will take care of just grabbing them when they can. The camera might run out of buffer, but, well, this Nikon Z3S is never going to run out of buffer like this, but a camera might run out of buffer. Say you're taking 10 fast photos and it's still downloading the 2. If you've got a camera with a small buffer, it might make you wait, but in general, that's pretty damn efficient. So where it gets interesting is the fact that you can tell gPhoto2 to run a hook script. So you can say hook script. Let's just run it already. Just I think it's equals. So that's expecting a file called hook.sh in the same directory, and it's not going to run because it's not there. And in this case, so we now have a hook script in the same directory. It's still not going to run it because it doesn't have permission to run it. So we've got to make that executable. That may still not work because it doesn't know what it is. But a hook script can be a bash script, it can be a Ruby script, it can be PHP, it can be anything, but it needs to know. So that's telling it this is a bash script. And it's working again. Now what's happening is whenever an event happens, like the camera switched on, gPhoto2 starts, or an image is downloaded, it's going through this hook script. And for example, it's coming through, it's launching the script with certain data. So now, if we look over here, see that it's now saying download and a file name. Download was the action, and that's the file name. I keep thinking I have to go to another window and run something to test this, but I don't. So see, just downloaded that. Flippin' awesome. But all of the things you can do in here are wicked awesome. So for example, so that it only does it in download, if I say if action equals download, then does that look right? So now when we start the camera, it's not going to say that. It's only going to say that if the action was download, like it was right now. So now we have a hook script that actually does something. So we want to view it on our screen, right? So there are various viewer tools. There's image viewer. What's my default? That might have been a mistake. It's just viewer. So the camera is pointed at another screen that has a clock running on it, so you see changes. The best viewer I've found, thanks in fact to a comment on the last Tether video, is gKey. So this is great in that it installs RAWs. My last Tether script, I used to create a JPEG so that I could display the JPEG, but gKey, I'm just going to call it gKey and not be embarrassed. gKey does RAWs, and it does them really quickly. The other thing gKey does is, where are the preferences? There. In the preferences, refresh on file change. See that? that is our friend. So if that is switched on, check this out. Copy argument to latest.nef. Let's get rid of all these just so it's tidy. So now it's downloading the images, and it copied that image to latest.nef. So if we open that with gkey, every photo gets downloaded and copied to latest.nef. gkey sees the change and updates. And we have a flipping tethering script with 4 lines of code that I could probably put on 1 if I wanted to. 5 lines. And it could probably be on 2 lines. So we now have an actual usable tethering script. And gkey has all kinds of really nice features like this. You can show or not show. You can go through images here. You can show a histogram here, which I usually do, and I don't know why it's not showing. It's showing some data. Where's my histogram? I don't know. Maybe because it's small. Is it deciding not to show a histogram? Interesting. View, EXIF window. I don't know. It's here somewhere, but I only set it up once and it's been the same ever since, so I don't know why it's not there too. But usually I have a histogram here, which is excellent. So there is a super flippin' basic tethering script that is ridiculous. So if anybody saw my last video, here's what I've done in the last week because of all the work I was doing in the Raspberry Pi version. Where I was doing things like shooting RAW and JPEG and only transferring the JPEGs. That made me realize that the JPEG out of the camera is actually a more useful thing to display. Is much more useful thing to display on my monitors than the RAW is, because it's got a little bit more processing, it's a little bit more real to life, and also I can change the settings, like I can use Vivid on the camera if I want, which makes a nicer display for the studio. So it's better. So check this out. Just some very straightforward bash scripting. That's wrong. Is that right? That should display. Yeah. So now that's telling me that this file is a nef. So argument like that just returns the file extension. So I'm going to go over to the camera, which I'm using on a remote. I've switched to shooting JPEG plus RAW. So let's get rid of this because it's going to get confused. TIFF. No, that's not what I want. There we go. RAW plus JPEG. And I've got normal. It's actually fine with the basic, which on Nikon is a really tiny JPEG. So now there's the nef. Look how fast the JPEG downloads. It's kind of instant. So we've got a JPEG and a nef. So now what if we go in here? So if the argument is equal to, hang on, JPG. I can't type when somebody's looking. I'm a terrible pair programmer. then copy that file, which is going to be a JPG, to latest.jpg. Does that look right? So now it's ignoring the nef. Let's get rid of all this crap again. It's ignoring the nef file and renaming the JPEG to latest.jpg. So now if we open that with gkey, it's actually, the whole thing's kind of faster now, because the length of time gkey takes to display a JPEG and the length of time it takes to copy a JPEG, if you put those two together, it's less than the time it takes to copy the nef, I think. I mean, it's super fast. So there we have the same system now, but we have, this is kind of messy. We have nefs and JPEGs. But you know what? Let's do this. So we don't really want the JPEGs, do we? So the only purpose of getting that JPEG now is to turn it into latest. Then we throw it away. Oh, where'd that come from? Did that not delete before? 69. Interesting. Why is that there? Yeah, that didn't work. Why is that not working? So move the file to latest.jpg. Why have we got JPEGs here? Yeah, that's weird. Did I not save that? I did. Move the file. That's bizarre. That's bizarre. I wonder if gPhoto2 doesn't release the file or something. I don't know. I'm probably being dumb. I'm probably missing something here. But anyway, there's a super basic, super fast tethering script in a handful of lines that's even sophisticated at this point. Now there's all kinds of things you can do, and I'll show you my current version of the tether script, the bash version. I have a Ruby version 2. I'll show you my current version, which is... I'm back. I don't know if you knew I was away, but I'm back. I realized that my current script is very much tied to Tog, the power tools script that I run to kind of create and manage everything. So I'm going to use Tog to tell tether script where it's going to work, and then we're going to do a tether. So I'm going to do Tog create YouTube test, and that has created that. It's also created a symbolic link, including here, so I can always really quickly get to where my most recent thing is. This doesn't have to be anywhere specific, so I can run, the reason for all this is I can run ktether from anywhere, and it knows that it's going to be putting files in the raw files here. It's also checking to make sure that there's a prefix associated with the shoot. In other words, I want the tether script to rename every single file sequentially so that all my files on all my shoots are unique. So various things happened there. It created this tether JPEGs directory, which is where it's going to put the JPEGs. And I could just throw them away, but Tog will throw them away when I use Tog to archive the set. Like I can tell Tog to archive to any of these other places, and it'll clean up all my resized images and all my proofs and all that crap that I don't want. So if I look in the raw files directory, I now have a session.conf that Tog has created, which says the file prefix is YouTube test, and the file number, the last file number is 0. And every time I take a shot, the hook script updates that so that I know what image I'm on. So it's in terms of core functionality, it's doing exactly what we did in that 4-liner, which is the camera is shooting RAW and JPEG, and it's taking the JPEG and displaying the JPEG in copying the JPEG to the latest, or preview.jpg I'm calling it here. So let's have a look at that script. I can't type when people are watching. Seriously, what's this doing? Stuck in something. Great. Yes. See, I'm thinking really slowly now. So a couple of things it's doing. I have a placeholder image that is the very first image that you saw show up here. So that latest automatically something is showing up when gkey is opened immediately. So if I haven't taken any shots yet, it's opening gkey needs an image, so I'm copying something. So I'm defining that here, and I don't know, if you ask me for this script, I'll probably give it to you, but you'll still have to understand how it works. So it's better to just understand what I'm doing and make your own. But here's what I'm doing. I'm just showing you what the possibilities are. First of all, I'm checking to see if Tog knows about some current set, because that's what we're going to use. And if it doesn't, then I jump out. If it does find a current set, I'm going to that directory. If there's no session.conf, then I'm saying, hey, hang on, I want a file prefix. So that's just that setup you saw. If it doesn't have this directory, it's making it. If there isn't a preview image in it, then I'm copying that placeholder there. If gkey isn't open, then I'm opening gkey and telling it to view the preview. So that's what you saw right at the front, at the start. This is possibly very Ubuntu-ish. So it's finding a camera, which is in, let's do another, why not? gPhoto2 uses, is it its own mount? I don't remember. So if we look at run user, your user ID, which is probably 1,000. If we look in here when a camera is actually mounted, and remember mine is not mounted anymore, it shows up here. And I basically said, if it finds one, then run this command to unmount it. So it's GVFS. GVFS is the mount system. So I'm automatically unmounting the camera if it is mounted. Then this should look familiar. That's exactly what we did in our little window over here. Because I'm launching this from anywhere, I have to substitute where actually ktether is running from, but that should, hopefully that makes sense to you. So this means that I can, well, I'm not going to explain it. Hopefully this makes sense to you. And then below that, I do a nice little thing, which is I've just disconnected the camera, but I'm muted. So I just disconnected the camera and it beeps. So that line is doing a beep, then it's sleeping for 5 seconds, then it's rerunning itself. And this is super awesome for me because I've tripped over my cable and I have to gaffer tape the cable to the camera in the perfect way for it to still work. So it's really nice that I plug the camera back in now, it pops up. It found it. It doesn't need to create the JPEG directory because it already exists. It's finding a mount camera. It dismounted the camera and it's ready to go again. Cool, huh? So let's look at the hook script. Which is a shell script again. And if you go to the gPhoto2 documentation, you'll find something that looks very like this. It's with the basic case action, and if it's start or download, you'll find that because they have a sample which includes various actions. I don't remember what the other ones are. There's start, there's init, there's download. So possibly yeah, so as soon as it ran this, it passed an action of start, so that said ready. So I'm reading the comp file. If it's a nef, then I'm saying that this file number, I'm building the file number string, so I'm checking what the last file number was. I'm adding one to it. I'm creating a file name, then I'm renaming whatever the argument was. What's mv minus n? Is that why the other one didn't work? Oh, of course. It didn't work previously because there already was a latest.jpg. So it couldn't move the JPG to latest.jpg. It failed. That's why I was stumped. Minus n kind of forces it. So it's moving. Is it? CP minus v move argument? No, it's not. Okay, forget what I said. I'm deleting anyway here. Sorry, rewind 30 seconds. So I'm moving. What is that? Is that like no output? Like non-verbose? I don't remember. So I'm renaming the nef file, long story short, so that it looks nice. You'll see these are all YouTube test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thanks to that. Then I am recreating the session file. That is basically saying put that in this file, but wipe it out in the process. This is saying add it to the bottom of the file that already exists. Then I am it's going to, by default, it's going to put the JPEG here. I'm copying it into the tether JPEGs directory, and then I'm moving it to the tether JPEGs directory with the preview. So if we go into the tether JPEGs, same thing, plus the JPEG. What else is there to say? I mean, that's kind of it. It's really not rocket science. It's basic scripting, whether it's Bash or Ruby or PHP or Python or anything else. It's the gPhoto2 guys that are doing all the heavy lifting here. It's pretty damn straightforward, and it just works. And honestly, I haven't found another tether tool that I find to be as fast and reliable as this, especially since I put the beep in there. It makes a whole difference to my workflow. I think it works really well. When the histogram's here, it's really useful. Oh, look. Should have moved that, shouldn't I? That's what I'm using Simple Screen Recorder for this video. I think that's all I have to say about that. Except yeah, that's longer than I wanted. You can stop now. I can show you I can declutter all of the stuff. Oh, I haven't told declutter to declutter this yet. I will. That's it. Like and subscribe as usual. I always forget to say that at the start because that would be really the best place to get some success from it. But if you're a Darktable person, a GIMP person I use somewhat, a Linux photographer, an open source person, kind of likes playing around with stuff like this, then definitely subscribe because I do this kind of stuff a lot. Have a great day.